Well, alrighty then. I think I'm all set up here properly. I'm not all that tech savvy with YouTube and their live stuff. So I've got this on. I can see that there's like 9 people watching, but I can't see the chat in this view. And I've got the camera being held by a tripod and stuff. Actually, it's just my cell phone. So I can't really respond to comments anyways, but what I'm going to try, hopefully those of you who are here, you can add it into the comments to the chat for others that are coming later on. Once I'm done the main part of my review, I'm going to take the cell phone down. I'm going to see if I can orient it to see the chat, and I'll read through it and I'll try to respond to any comments that way. So there you go. If you're watching this after the fact, yeah, I recorded this live with a studio audience. Well, no, an internet audience. Here's the knife that we're looking at today. This is by ANV Knives. ANV Knives, that's their logo. It's supposed to be an A, then an N, then a V. So acta non verba, actions louder, or actions not words. It's kind of from the English phrase, actions speak louder than words. So they're saying, don't judge us on any hype or anything you hear. Look at the quality of the thing and judge us on what we actually produce. That's my take on what they do. Anyway, this is a new knife. They're calling it a slip joint knife. They're calling it a world knife. So it's legal in the vast majority of the world. And so if you're living in the world, which most of us are, I think, this knife should be legal wherever you live. I'll go over all the dimensions and everything later on in the video. I won't do a teardown though, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the video about why. So this is made in the Czech Republic, also known as Czechia. And so that's in Eastern Europe. And they've been making knives for a while. And I've reviewed several of their knives. I think 2 or 3. Is this the 3rd? Okay, I should have looked that up ahead of time. Yeah, I think this is the 4th knife actually of theirs that I'm reviewing. And fixed blades, locking folders, liner locks. I think they got some frame locks, a lot of fixed blade knives, military style knives, and EDC style knives. So this is very much in the folding EDC category. It's a double detent slip joint. Now, you'll have to look through my channel to see I've got a slip joint playlist, and you'll be able to see some videos there of knives with double detent slip joints. What that means is the same way a liner lock works, there's an arm on the side with a little detent ball on it and a little hole on the side of the blade, and that holds the blade in place. And then when you unlock it, most of them, then go and a lock takes over. On this knife, there's 2 spring arms with detent balls that hold the blade open. And these have quite a lot of force. They've precisionally milled this so that when you open the knife, I'm not calling it locked, although I might use the word lock. It's behaving a lot like a lock, but not fully locked. Those 2 detent arms are holding that blade in place. And if you see how much force I'm putting in my thumb, like how deep it presses in before it unlocks, that's a fair ways. You can see a little bit of white, hopefully, maybe not, that it left in there. So, and you can hear it when it opens. Like that's a fair bit of force. I did not have this knife come close to unlocking or starting to close while I was using it. But even if it did, if you're holding it, especially if you're gripping it up here, we've got this sort of forward choil, and if it unlocks, that non-sharp part goes into your finger, and it can't go any further. I can hit it with my hand all day long, and it's just bumping into my finger again, leaving a white mark. So it just works really, really well in terms of safety that way, and it's very comfortable. This is glass reinforced nylon polymer handle, so it's a very lightweight knife. This is a Sleipner steel. That's a Swedish variant on D2 steel. So it's a carbon steel. This is a DLC coating that they put on it. Rockwell hardness of Sleipner goes anywhere, 60 to 64. You can go higher, but that's risky for more brittleness. And you can go lower. But ANV says they're doing this knife right around 60 Rockwell hardness. I do not have a Rockwell tester, so I can't say for sure if that's what it is or not. But here, let's take a look at the badging on the blade. Right up here, Z070Neo. I don't know if they've named any of their knives before. I haven't noticed it. So usually they just have a model number, P series for most of their EDC knives, M series for more of their military style. Z is for their folding series. So Z070Neo, Sleipner, made in Czech Republic. And the brand name, I already showed you this, Actinon Verba there. But on the rounded spine, they've also put Actinon Verba right there on the spine. I like the badging that it's not too big, it's not too bold. It gives you good information, and it's a nice small size. So badging, I've got nothing against. Blade shape, what do we have here? We've got a full flat grind. We got a big ricasso here, partly because of this forward grip. I already mentioned the rounded spine. It's dropping, and then in this last centimeter or so, it drops sort of a little bit like a, I wouldn't call it a bullnose, just a slight increase in the rate that drops down at. And so it's not a stabbing knife. Well, a slip joint knife you don't want to stab with anyways, because you risk it closing on you. So even if it's fairly safe this way, you just don't want to make it that people will try doing too much stabbing action with it. But then we've got the cutting edge, and it's fairly thin behind the edge, not super thin. I'll go through that measurement in a minute. And then we've got a belly here back to this choil, so that's nice. The handle, we got a decent size handle. What is it? Almost 3 3/4 inches roughly. What is that? 9.5 centimeters, in the grip area roughly. This plastic has been molded to be extremely comfortable in the hand. But one of the best things I like about this knife is that I guess for mini hand sizes, my wife's got much smaller hands and she tried this too, but I was carrying this and using this an awful lot, and it's just so comfortable in hand. Main thing I ended up using this knife for, that I spent the most time doing, was actually whittling wood. Now, if you're a wood whittler, you know this. The comfort of the handle is extremely important. The blade shape, you can sort of work around different blade shapes, but if the handle's not comfortable, you're not going to want to whittle it very long. And this handle with these, you can see it in this view, it's got the full thickness here, and then these flat sections. I don't know if I can get the light just right to see that. Maybe let's turn this light off and see if that, I'm not sure if that's any better or not. It's hardly any different. It might be actually a little better, so let's do that. This section here, this has like a stonewash kind of texture on, just a tiny bit extra grip, and then this is sort of polished and smooth, but coming in like that, it's just so comfortable for your thumb to rest in there. Cutting, like going through some stuff, yeah, not whittling, but is fine that way. But when you're whittling, that thumb on this rounded spine, my thumb didn't get hot. I don't need texture like jimping on here. Jimping might be nice as long as it's not too aggressive, but there's no jimping. I just found it I could whittle for a while. When I wanted more powerful cuts, holding it like this and doing some pull cuts, it just worked really, really well in terms of comfort in the hand. This dropping together at the back here felt really nice, comfortable in the hand. Tiny little back spacer back here, and you know what? I forgot to measure that, and I don't have. Do I have my little kit here? I don't have my kit here of screwdriver bits. I've got these other ones over here, so let me see. It's certainly not a T8, no. And let's see if I've got a T6 handy. I should have organized myself. And now I got the benefits of doing stuff live. This is a T5, and yeah, that's too big. So that's going to be T6 button screws set in there. And then this back spacer, you can see just a little bit of a mold line there. If I was to get them to change, I don't call this a con, but something I would request is if they would make this back here, this back spacer somehow to extend and just leave a little hole so that you could leave a lanyard. Or a bigger design change would be somehow to make a pocket clip on it. But I think that option, they've made some knives with removable flippers actually, so they know how to make parts that can be interchanged. I wouldn't mind if they made an interchangeable, like leave this way maybe, or give the option of having a little bit of a hole back here for, you know, a lanyard, because I know a lot of guys will drop this in their pocket and they'd rather have a lanyard to pull on or something. That would be nice, a nice option. I basically just dropped this in my pocket, so it was you know, just sitting in my pocket, sitting there doing nothing, and that was fine. But I think I'd like that option as well. I forgot to mention a couple things on the blade, and you can see them right here. Push to open, and an arrow pointing that way, and they've got a little bit of oh, what's the name of that called again? Glow-in-the-dark material, where if you've carried this outside for a little while, that'll absorb energy, and that little dot, it's a hole that goes all the way through. It's holding that glow-in-the-dark liquid. A lot of their knives have that. Some of their fixed blade knives, a lot of their folding knives have that little feature as well. They're calling it a two-hand opening, but as you can see, it's not hard to open with one hand. That sticks out just a tiny bit right there, and you can get your finger on it. And so it's not hard to open and close in one hand, but it's not one smooth motion. You know, take one motion with my thumb to move it, then I engage my index finger. And so for, I guess, making it more appealing to legally, you know, for being a worldwide knife, they're calling it a two-hand opening knife, and certainly it works that way as well. So you decide for yourself how you want to carry it and use it. But that's just, I really, really like this knife. Colors. This black DLC or really dark gray DLC coating, that's standard. That's the only way it comes. But this, I don't know if it comes across on the camera. This is a mint white. And so there's just a hint of green in here. Very little green at all. Here, let me see. This is a Wera screwdriver, and so that's supposed to be a green. And so there's very little green in here. It's mostly white. You can also get it in a rose white. So this is being promoted more as a unisex knife. So it's, you know, as promoted for women as it is for men. And I think the rose white would be really, really nice for them. Or you can get it in all black. And I know a lot of guys would prefer the all black version, but I wanted to get this mint green version. So that's the one I requested to get from them. And it's nice. Oh, by the way, they did send this to me without me having to buy it. So take that for what it's worth. In this video, I should have mentioned it earlier. So sorry about that for forgetting to mention that at the opening. But this is quite a nice knife. Now, let's go over the measurements and all that stuff first before I go over the pros and cons that I think about this knife. The overall weight of this knife, they say there's 63 grams. On my precision scale, they say there's 65. I got 63 on my scale, so just a slight bit less. That's 2.2 ounces, roughly, rounded just a little bit. The sharpness from the factory on my best tester, I got a score, the average score on 3 or 4 tests was about 190 best. So it could have been sharpened a little bit better, but that's not bad at all. 190 is quite nice. And the measurements here, the blade length, so between my thumbnails, 57.1 millimeters, that's 2¼ inches, again with just slight rounding on the inches. The blade length, so tip of the blade to the closest spot on the GRN here, 57.9, so about the same, 2.28 inches. The thickness of the blade steel, 2.94 millimeters, which is 0.116 of an inch, so just a slight bit less than 1/8 of an inch. The blade depth this way, the widest point right about where my fingers are, that's about 24 millimeters, 0.945, so just under 1 inch this way. The thickness behind the grind, so right where my thumbnail is, Most of the knife here is right at 0.45 millimeters. That's 17.5 thousandths. So it's thin enough to be very cutty. It cuts really well, cuts and slices well. Thick enough to be very stable and durable and strong. So there you go for that. Gets closer to 20 thou at the tip. So that last tiny bit, thickens up just a little bit. The handle depth this way, 25.7 millimeters. That's just over an inch, 1.01 inches. When the knife is closed, the widest point is right up here, 29.9 millimeters, 1.18 inches. Takes up a little space in your pocket, but not an awful lot. And deployed, this thing is 156 millimeters, 6.14 inches. Now, by the way, if you are leaving comments in the chat, as I mentioned, because I know more people have joined, I can't see those at the moment. I'll look through those near the end of the video, and I'll try to respond to those comments when they come in. So thank you for stopping by and leaving a comment. That helps YouTube promote it even while it's live. That's the measurements. Did I do all the measurements? Yeah, 156, 6.14 inches. So that's the measurements on this thing. How much does it cost? In the United States, the cheapest place I found, but there's a number of places, Knife Center, $59 US. In Canada, there's a store called Tenda Canada. The address is gotenda.com. Once this video has been fully done, I will leave comments, and in the video description, I'll leave some links to make it easy. None of those are referral links. I'm not going to make any money off the links. They're just there to make it easy for you. So that's the only store in Canada that I know of that has ANV knives. And when I spoke with ANV representative themselves, they don't know of stores in Canada that have these knives either. So if you're in Canada, ask your favorite knife store to carry ANV knives. That's Acta Non Verba, anvknives.com if they want to look them up. By the way, from ANV, you can buy these at $68 US, 64 euro, 50 British pounds, about 1,500 Czech crown, or krone, crown, however they say it in the Czech language. So that's how much they cost. There is a short-term exclusive variant only available on anvknives.com. It's their cancer research exclusive. They're making 100 variants of this in their white pink or rose white GRN, and it's going to have that cancer research ribbon on here as well. Not in pink. It's also in the same color as the rest of the badging on the handle. So they're only making 100 of those. Those are, I don't know, 12, 13 US dollars more. So they're only making 100 of those. So that's what you want. Now, pros and cons on this thing. So I'm almost done now. I really like the weight of this knife. The proportions are really good for a, call it a light use EDC. But it's tough enough. Like I said, I whittled for a long time on several pieces of spruce and had a good time. I really enjoyed it. I didn't see any, I can leave fingerprints on here, but the DLC coating is tough. Nothing's come off on it. It hasn't scratched up. I didn't hit any metal in any of the wood or anything, so that would have scratched it for sure. But in my use, not a problem. I used it, to cut apart some nectarines, some apples. So for that kind of lunch thing, that's fine. It's a very non-threatening looking knife. That's a pro for a lot of people. This is not, a self-defense knife. It has no intentions of being anything like that. So if that's what you're looking for, this isn't your knife. But if you want something that looks non-threatening and, what do they say on their website? They say gentle and calm impression. So yeah, it really gives a calm and gentle impression. Now, I will say one thing. I think I had a pen or two in my pocket while this was in there. And so there's a little mark there that I've left. And I think I've got some residue of some marker on there. So GRN, it's a glass reinforced nylon. It can absorb a little bit of ink, and I was not careful enough, so you be careful with that. Or if you don't want to risk it, get the black version, and then those kind of marks will not show up. I wish I could take this apart. That's the, like, I didn't call this a con really with the non-lanyard hole or anything, but this is one that I'm going to call a con. Hopefully I get this close enough. I think I'm going to turn this light back on here. Hopefully you can see it if I can get the angle just right. To be able to take that apart, see there's a hole that goes right through, so you can see my finger. And they have had knives where they've had like a 4mm hex head, and so you could take an Allen key and take it apart, if I remember correctly, or it might be some other knives. But this one would require, a special tool. Oh, I've got some in the other room. Maybe I'll go by later and look for it. But basically, what you need is a tool that'll. Oh, I got lint over here. Thank you, Bandit, for being in my room, in my life. Anyhow, it would go into two of these holes, and then you could turn it so it's kind of wrench. That's what you would need to get in there. Now, I did send them an email, and I haven't heard back from them yet if they've used any thread locker in this pivot screw or not. If they did, you probably don't want to take this apart. Now, so I don't know, in that same email I was asking if they got washers in here or ball bearings. I'm sure it's washers. As you can see, it's really tight fitting. It doesn't rub on the handle material, but there's not much space there. So they'd have to do, a recessed cut in the blade stock to be able to put in ball bearings. So I suspect it's just washers. But it fits in, look at that. It just comes right in, doesn't quite touch the plastic, but the blade centering is really well done, and it just holds in your hand really well. I do wish I could take this apart myself, just in case I wanted to clean it out for some reason. There is metal, and I don't know if I can show it, but for those detent arms, the metal comes all the way back at least to this first screw. I'm suspecting that it does not come to this last screw. From the look, if I can get it, there you go. You can see that right there. See that steel comes down, and if you line that up with my fingernail, looks like it ends right there, which is before this back screw. But I think this screw goes through a little bit of a recessed liner. So there's steel liners on both sides coming up there. Plenty strong enough for the kind of knife that it is, so that's not a con. It's just I wish I could get in there. To me, that's fairly important. I like the knife, but I really wish I could easily take this apart at home. I don't know if taking it apart would void an active non-variable warranty or not. That was also in that question, but maybe my contact there is on holidays, so he hasn't gotten back to me to be able to give me those answers. Maybe I can give you those answers in a future little video if that comes out. But there you go. The to take it apart and the lanyard, those are the two possible cons. I like pretty much everything else about this knife. I wouldn't mind if they made a variant with a Wharncliffe blade. That'd be nice too. I guess if this does really well, maybe they'll do that. But this is quite a nice knife, and my wife enjoyed carrying it. I like carrying it, and it works really, really well. That's my review, so stick around if you want me to try to answer questions. I'm going to have to pull my camera off, my cell phone, off of this. There we go. So hopefully your video doesn't look too terrible. I'll try to find these comments. Oh, there weren't very many comments. Kevin says, hello. Jay says, front flippers are my least favorite form of one-handed operation. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not a fan of front flippers either. This, I don't think they really intended it as a front flipper because it really does take two hands. It's not like if I try to shake it, it's not moving anywhere. That's why I think it's got just washers and not ball bearings. So wherever you stop, it stays there. So you're not going to just flick it like this and have it open all the way. But if they were to make a version like that, they might make a locking version to have that smooth action. On this kind of slip joint that's intended to be world legal pretty much, I think that this is a very reasonable compromise to have it have the friction holding it where it is. And, you know, it takes 2 seconds to open it instead of being instant. Now let's see if I can pull this back up again to see if there's any more comments. Live chat, all messages. Did I say that? Pocket clip would be really nice. Yes. And Cold Steel Tiger, the Steel Tiger, I mean, carry of the day. Yeah, that's not a bad knife. And that's it for the comments that I see. Hopefully I didn't miss any in there. So yeah, if you want to leave another comment, this video will be listed under live videos, but it'll be listed as a regular review and you'll be able to comment there. I read all the comments and I respond to everyone. So thanks so much for stopping by and watching this video. And if you enjoyed me doing this live, leave a comment about that. And or do you prefer my more edited videos where I record and, you know, and I take out all the ums and ahs? Well, not all of them, most of them. But if you prefer that kind of video over this format, let me know. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now. And of course, now I got to figure out how to stop this. Like that. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Okay.